It is mid-July, and the Roundtable can take the heat anytime, even in December. We're joined this morning by Boston Globe columnist Adrienne Walker, Republican political analyst Ginny Buckingham. It's great to see you guys this morning.
You too.
Adrienne, let me start with you. And Marty Bean sat in the chair this morning. What do you make of his response to the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays in different institutions, and I think it will be different at a place like UMass, or even different UMass campuses than at a place like Harvard. They've had a lot of time to think about what they want to do instead, and hopefully your ideas will be successful.
Ginny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, diversity is kind of at the heart of a public institution like UMass, and I think they'll be able to continue much of what they've done to make it such a diverse place.
All right. The impact of climate change is taking a big toll on New England this summer. Historic, catastrophic flooding in Vermont. Out west, we've seen extreme heat. For voters, climate change ranks low for the issues they care most about. In fact, single digits. Ginny, why do you think that is?
Probably because mostly they hadn't felt the impact until maybe now. And that's too bad, but that's kind of reality for people who have a lot on their plates. And now I think people are seeing this is coming and we got to do something.
You always see economic issues sort of toward the top in these polls, but in climate is way down in single digits.
Climate has always felt like something that was distant. It's always felt like something that was going to be a huge problem in 2050 when half of us will be dead. Yeah, I think Jenny's exactly right. People are seeing now the impact is right on top of us.
Right. Next item, Governor Healy, racking up travel miles. She headed first to Western Massachusetts. This is video from her in the western part of the state to view the flooding damage last week. And then from there, she went to Atlantic City, New Jersey for a governor's conference. Then she went to Michigan to meet with other female governors. That's after a trip to Ireland a couple of weeks ago. And then I believe there's a week of vacation in there. I'm not depriving anyone of vacation. But the question is, Adrienne, is this too much travel too soon?
No, I don't think so. And I reject the whole idea that if the governor isn't physically in the Commonwealth, she's not doing her job. I think these are all work trips. I think it's good for her to have a national profile. I think it's good for her to share ideas with her peers in other states.
You know what people say, though? Boy, there's enough to work here. You have to do enough here. You don't have to be in Ireland.
It's not like she's not working because she's not here.
Ginny, what is your read?
Well, what matters is that she's here when it is needed. And if there's an issue that she has to attend to, I'm sure she'll be back. Back in the day, in yesteryear, when I worked for Governor Weld, we had a hurricane his first year, and we had to beg him to come back from the National Governors Association to attend to it. He ultimately did, but he wasn't happy.
Well, when the Sumner Tunnel was closed, the governor wasn't here.
Oh, she was here.
Was that not big enough, or no?
She was at the control center the next day, working with officials. So I think it's a bit of
the next
you realize the tunnel will be closed whether she's
for 2 months, right? No,
Here's
right, exactly.
My question is, why does she feel the need so early in her term to burnish her national reputation? Why do you think that is?
Look, governors' associations happen in the summer because all the legislatures are out of session, and this is the time of year when governors can convene. It's just coincidence.
I mean, I'd rather have a governor that people want to meet around the country than somebody that no one cares about. It's good for the state.
So did Weld come back? I forget.
He came back very grumpy.
She's got a lot of good stories, this one.
Also reluctant to come back, right?
That's right.
Yeah, right. I remember. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's like, where's Charlie?
Yeah, where's Charlie? Right.
Let's talk about the Sumner Tunnel closure. It's continuing to cause headaches for commuters, and you know this if you've been anywhere near it. This really should have been the time for the MBTA to shine. And this is what we saw last week. A red line fire at the Charles MGH station and a faulty pipe that meant firefighters had to physically carry extinguishers and cans of water up to the tracks. Can public transportation in Boston ever get on track, or will it continue to be a last resort rather than a first choice? Ginny.
I don't know. I didn't ditch the drive last week. I drove into Boston, and boy, did I regret it. I sat on that bridge, on the Tobin Bridge, forever. So I know the T is going to fail here and there, but in general, it's probably a smart idea to ditch the drive anyway.
All right, Adrienne, what do you think?
As a daily red line rider, I will say that it's not any worse than it's been for the last couple of years.
A significant moment last week in this new world that we're living through this summer. It's when traffic was stopped on the westbound side of the Ted Williams Tunnel. The move made so that state police could transport an organ that had arrived from Logan Airport to a Boston hospital. The company that did it says that using a helicopter was not safe, hence it was ground transportation. It was absolutely necessary, of course, to transport it because of the closure of the Sumner Tunnel. You have to lock down things and move it, and there's a timely issue here. But here's where things get tricky. Vice President Kamala Harris will be attending the NAACP convention in Boston next week. Adrienne, if she gets special transportation privileges like that in these times, would there be political blowback, and is it more trouble than it's worth?
I don't know if it's more trouble than it's worth, but I mean, look, when the president comes to town or the vice president comes to town, they get through traffic, and that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to be annoyed, and it's happened before. It will happen again, and people will be annoyed.
Should her play just be, I'll sit in traffic and I'll get there when I get there?
No, because
No.
that makes no sense. I mean, she's the vice president. She has to keep to a schedule. People
And there are
understand
security
that.
issues as well. No, you don't want her just sitting in a
Sitting there
in a
doing
tunnel.
nothing.
People are
Yep.
definitely less annoyed in this area when it's a major sports figure, however. They, I feel like, will,
Yeah, you're right.
Well,
sit
those are
back
the
and
ones
let
that make
them
me
go.
mad. Remember when the Red Sox had some backup
That's what I'm
catcher?
talking about.
Doug Mirabelli.
Escort.
Doug Mirabelli, a state
That's right.
police escort.
I'm still
to
mad
Fenway.
about that. 10 years later. Kamala Harris,
hilarious.
I'm fine with that.